Hi guys, JP from FSiPanel. On that quick video we will fly a non-precision approach, RNP Delta 22 right in Nice, south of France. We will be using the Boeing 737 PMDG 737-800 with this beautiful Air Europa livery. And I will show you how to program and how to fly this RNP approach with FSiPanel within a minute. And then the files will be available in the description section below. So if you want to fly the exact same approach, just go ahead and download the files and you won't have to program it yourself. Alright, let's have a look at what we want to do today. This is the RNP Delta runway 22 right we are going to fly today in Nice, south of France. And as you can see, we will start the approach from the position Sotox right there, which is southeast of the airport. And we will position the aircraft just south of that position, Sotox, let's say around 8 nautical miles on the radial 167. So it's important always to remember a radial from Sotox. As you can see here from Sotox, we are flying heading 347 outbound, on the track 347 outbound. So the radial is the opposite. So that's going to be 167 if we want to position south of Sotox. This is radial 167, the red line right there. And we are going to position ourselves at 8 nautical miles. In order to try as well the VNAV descent, we will put ourselves at 5,000 feet, knowing that NANAX is our first altitude restriction, 3,000 feet, maximum speed 200 knots. So let's program that together in FSiPanel. Alright, here we are in FSiPanel. As you can see, I have Nice automatically detected, as my aircraft right now is sitting on runway 22 right in Nice. So that's the correct runway. And now I need to create a pilot waypoint. So I'll go to select fix. And there we are going to click on select waypoint. There is no waypoint right now, so I will create a new waypoint. Now, to create a waypoint, you need a reference. It can be a latitude, longitude, or it can be the actual aircraft position, or a navade. In our case, we're going to take the navade. The name of the navade, if we look in the chart, is Sotox, Sierra, Oscar, Tango, Oscar, X-ray. So we are going to dial this here, Sotox. Search, we find the waypoint, click on it, select the waypoint. So now this is my reference. Now I need a radial. Remember, the radial is the opposite, so 347. So we would like to be established on that track so we can fly straight ahead. So I'll put radial 167, 8 nautical miles, and we will put 5,000 feet. So let's do that. So radial 167, distance 8 nautical miles. Then I need to click on compute coordinates. So those coordinates right now are the one 8 miles south of Sotox. The altitude we said 5,000 feet. The heading right now, so what heading you want your aircraft to be? Well, the aircraft will be right there, so we want the heading 347, so we fly inbound. So I will set 347 as the heading. There we go. And the aircraft will be clean. We don't need to be in vectors or final. We want the aircraft to be flaps up, gear up. And the waypoint name, I will call it Sotox 8. And I will put here as a description 8 nautical miles south of Sotox. Now I just need to click on save waypoint, and as you can see, my waypoint has been created successfully and I have it here ready to be used. So I will select now that waypoint, validate, and when I click move aircraft, we will be in the air. Before doing that, let's set our training weight. So let's jump in the aircraft. And as you can see, I just loaded the 737 on runway 22 right in Nice. And now the first thing to do, if you want to do it right, set your landing weight. So we don't need 10 tons of fuel when we are reaching destination. So by going to FS action, I will change the fuel to, let's say, 4,000 feet. So sorry, 4,000 kilograms, 4 tons of fuel remaining. And for the payload, let's put something like 58 tons of zero fuel weight, which is around 80% of the maximum load, and that will give us 62 tons for a training scenario. This is the only thing I need to do, and now I will be able to move the aircraft for the approach. All right, so I click on move aircraft, And here we go. We are in the simulator, and now we need to wait until FSiPanel finish the setup. So that will take around 40 seconds, and we will be ready to fly our approach. So during that time, as always, guys, do not touch anything. Just wait for FSiPanel to give you the control. And once we have the control, we will set everything together for the approach, and we will fly that approach. Remember that I will give you the snapshot file. So if you don't want to lose time setting up by yourself, then just use the snapshot by drag and dropping the file over the main window of FSiPanel. Make sure you have a 737-800 loaded on runway 22 right if you want to do that. Good. So as you can see, the aircraft is now ready. We are getting the confirmation from FSiPanel here on top of your screen. Hold your brake for 3 seconds to take control. So before we take control, now we are going to set up everything. As you can see, FSiPanel set an ILS or the closest approach for runway 22 right, but that might be wrong. So we want to set now the correct approach. So let's have a look at the approach chart. So today, as you can see, we are going to fly this approach, the RNP 22 right. So we are just now 8 miles south of Sotox. So we have to put inside, we have to program our FMC for RNP Delta runway 22 right, and try to find something that goes via Sotox, and then we should have Nanax, and we should have our arrival there. So let's start by programming our FMC. So let's go back in the simulator. I will move that window away so it's not on your screen, and let's program that aircraft. So if we go to the route page, the first thing you will see is that destination is already Nice, so that's fine. And now if you go departure arrival, in the arrival page here we need to select the RNP Delta. That's the one for runway 22 right. So AirNav Delta 22 right. Now we get, as you can see, Nanax. We are missing the point Sotox, so probably Sotox 1 mic should give us a point, and as you can see we have it right there, Sotox. So that's what we want, so execute. Now what I will do is a direct to Sotox. As you can see, easy. Now Sotox is exactly 8 miles. That's exactly what we programmed, so that's good. We have an altitude restriction between 3,000 and 6,000 feet, so that's good for us because we are at 5,000 feet just now. Next restrictions, as we spoke before, 3,000 or above at Nanax, and the speed will be 200 knots. And then we have our arrival, as you can see on the screen right now, all the way to runway 22. Bear in mind that the last part of this approach is a visual procedure, so we will have a look at it and brief it correctly. So for now we have just programmed the arrival route. When we do that, there is a couple of things that are very important to do. Right now, as you can see, the aircraft is flying 214 knots. We are still in position freeze, so we are going to program our VNAV. So the first thing to do, you go to your cruise page, and there you can see that we are missing a cruise altitude. So we are just going to dial in 5,000 feet. That's our cruising altitude. We have a speed of 250 knots computed by the FMC. So at that stage on the PMDG, we cannot change it. On the aircraft, we could change it. On the PMDG, we can't. But there is a workaround for this, so let me show you that. Execute this. Now just select, for example, long-range cruise, which will give us 270 knots, and now you can change it. So let's say we want to fly now 240 knots. I put 240 knots, execute. So now the aircraft expects us to fly at 240 knots during that segment. So as this is done, I will increase the speed. Remember, we are still in position freeze, so no problem. This is just to synchronize the actual aircraft speed with what we are supposed to fly right now as per the FMC. Then have a quick look at the descent page. On the descent page, you will see that the aircraft wants to descend at 273 knots. Wherever below 10,000 feet, we should be restricted to 240 knots. So if you want to make it right, just put 240 knots as well in the descent page and execute. Right now we have done everything. You can see that we have a top of descent right there. This is where the aircraft will start descending. Decel point, that's the first decel point. This is to reach our first restriction, 200 knots at Nanax, and then we will have another further descent point, decel point for the approach. Alright, so this is done. Now what we have to do as well when we fly AirNav approach is always to deselect the VOR and DME update. So for that, you go into your position page. You go to position page 3. And now you go to the navigation status, page 2. Right there, you can see that actually the FMC is getting information from GPS. This is what we want when we fly AirNav approach. And it's as well getting information from DME and VORs. So that can be a problem when you fly AirNav approach. If you have, for example, a VOR that is not transmitting correct information, then the FMC might use those wrong information to compute its position, and we might be off track. So when we fly AirNav approach, we rely only on GPS. For that, on the NOTAM, we check that there is no outage. And if there is no outage, what we do, we just deselect in the FMC those two updates, DME and VOR, and then we make sure that GPS will be our only source. And we will make sure that we don't have a localizer here selected. In fact, we are going to set Azure, which is the VOR in Nice. That's good enough for us. And then the aircraft, we rely only on the GPS. That's what we want. Another thing you want to do is on progress page 4. Here you can see that we are going to fly this approach with a RNP of 0.3. This is fine. And the vertical RNP, usually what we set here is 125. So that's something that you should set, and that will give your NPS, you will see it later, a much better performance, so to make sure we are laterally and vertically at the right position when we fly an approach. Alright, so now we have set our FMC. We are going to brief the approach, and then we will release the control, and we will fly this approach using full automation. You will see how easy that can be when it's correctly done. So let's jump in the chart again to brief that approach. Okay, this is our chart. So as you can see here from the top, it's an AirNav approach. The final approach course, we will check it, is 303 right there. Refer to the chart 12.6b, we will go there. 3,000 feet at Fox November 22 Delta, which is right there. It's a mandatory altitude. This is where we will start our descent toward our minimum descent altitude of 1260. The airport elevation is 12 feet in Nice. Should we need to go around at the minimum, at the missed approach point here, MN22 Delta, turn left, maximum speed 185 knots, to Mike November 412, maximum speed 185 knots again. So here we might have to leave the flaps to probably flaps 1 to meet that criteria, or even flaps 5, we will see if we go around. Then we turn left to Mike November 404, then 414, and finally we go back to Neras and we climb 3,000 feet. So what is important to remember is 3,000 feet. This is our missed approach altitude. Coming to Neras with that heading, as you can see right there, we are coming with an heading of 033. We will probably enter with a teardrop, right turn there, and join the holding pattern in Neras. So let's have a look at the chart that is written here, 12.6 Bravo, to see what it says for us. This is our chart 12.6 Bravo that we need to use after the missed approach point right there, where we should be at 1,260 feet mandatory. We should be visual at that point. This is the whole point of an IMC approach, IFR approach. We come down here and at the latest at 1,260 feet at this missed approach point, we should be visual. If we are visual, we are going to fly this visual maneuvering with prescribed tracks. So as you can see here, we're going to have a track of 303 and a minimum altitude of 1,000 feet. So we will fly 303 and we will line up ourselves on runway 22 right. Here we have to be very careful on the tight turn as we are low altitude. Minimum criteria for stabilization 500 feet. That it is now a visual procedure. And we will line up on runway 22 right. There is a point here, 180 knots maximum with a 1. For category D aircraft, we are on a category C aircraft, so 180 knots is good. So we are going to turn and establish ourselves. Now, several things that are very important there. As you can see, the PAPI is 3.5 degrees. So be careful on that. It's a little bit stiffer than that we are used to. That's something to remember. And in case of go around there from this manual position, we just fly straight ahead on 223, climb 3,000 feet, and then contact ATC. So that's in the chart as well. All right, so that's what we're gonna practice today. So let's have a look again at the minimum, and then we will fly the approach. So that's the bottom of your chart. As you can see now, Nanax, we will be coming at 3,000 feet. This is the mandatory altitude, Fox November 22 Delta. There we will start our descent. It's a 3 degrees descent until we reach Mike November 22 Delta. We have here a restriction. This area is 500 feet AGL. This is for the helicopter departing Nice special activities, so we'll be above helicopters departing, and then from that point either we go around or we continue with the visual prescribed flat track to intercept 22 right final track. This is the step that we will be monitoring during our approach, and those steps are distance to Mike November 22 D. So we're gonna have to be very careful to check the right DME and that we are in the right altitude. Minimum as briefed 1260. So setup, we will set up now the approach in the 737 and then we will fly it. So let's go back in the sim. Alright, so the first thing to do, I will set my minimum, which is 1260. So that's one thing we want to make sure we have. So let's set 1260 as a barrow minimum. Some airlines will add 50 feet, some will not. So that's up to your airline procedures. So here I will just put 1260. This is to avoid going below the actual MDA. So this is completely up to the airline's SOPs. So let's here set for training today, let's set 1260. Right, we have our minimums. Our course, we need to make sure we have the right courses. The course is 303. 303 and 303. That's it. We have auto brake 2. That's fine. Let's have a look at the speed. For flaps 30, it's already 144. That's good. Auto brake is 2. Nav setting, we are just going to use Nice Azure as a reference. So I'm going to use VOR1. I have it here. Right now I'm not getting any DME. So 10865. Let me check if that's the right frequency. And as you can see, the frequency is 10965. So that's why we have no reception. So 10965, perfect. 10965, 10965. Now we should have some DME. That's correct. All right. So now we have set this. We have the auto brake. We have the minimums. We have everything set. So we are ready to fly that approach. So before I fly the approach, I'm gonna take a snapshot for you guys from that exact cockpit like you see it now. So if you want to fly the same exact approach, download the snapshot in the section below and drag and drop it in your FSiPanel main window. Just make sure you have a PMDG 737-800 on ground, engines running, on runway 22 right. So let's take a snapshot with FSiPanel. So I will take a snapshot and I will put here RNP Delta 22 right, approach 22 right in Nice. That's good enough. Save the snapshot. Now FSiPanel will save the snapshot and we are ready to fly the total scenario. Alright, snapshot is saved successfully. Let's go ahead and take the control. So I will hold my brake as requested by FSiPanel. And I have control, so we can arm LNAV, VNAV. We should have VNAV path. And as we synchronize the speed, you can see that nothing is changed. We are perfectly well. So first instructions we are getting here from our FMC is reset MCP altitude as we are reaching the top of descent. So the next altitude that we have to fly is 3,000 feet or above at position Nanax. As you can see right there, Nanax 3,000 or above. So I set 3,000 feet and now we are all good. The aircraft should start descent at the top of descent. And at this cell point, this is where we're gonna have a speed reduction, down to 200 knots. So 200 knots is below our up speed, so we will have to use some flaps. All right, what did I do here? I changed that to norm. Sorry. Here we go. So we are going to monitor the performance of the PMDG 737 on that approach, and we will see how to fly then the visual part. So now, as you can see, we are starting descent. You can see this is our NPS, navigation precision scale. Right now we are within the limit. This is important after your final approach fix. So when we start descent from Fox November 22 Delta, we should be within those brackets. If we are not anywhere in IMC, this is a good reason to execute a missed approach. Right now we are in the initial part, so it's not really a problem. The aircraft is going down. Now, as you can see, we are reducing the speed toward 200 knots, mandatory by NANAX. And what I will do is, before my top of descent for the final approach fix, we said it's Fox November 22 Delta, we are going to put a 2 miles radius, and I will explain you why. This is a very good hint to remember to set your minimum descent altitude, and as well to set gear down flaps 15. So let me show you a good way to configure the aircraft, the 737, for that kind of approach. So now she wants to reduce to what, 200 knots. As you can see, we need some flaps, so let's go flaps 1. Now when we go flaps 1, the speed will go bug 1, so we are complying with the speed 200 or less that we need to fly at a position NANAX. Flaps 1, green light, perfect. Next will be flaps 5. So we have to be conservative on a non-precision approach, so let's go flaps 5. We can see now we are breaking the cloud. I use the actual weather for the day. It's a light crosswind today from from the left, so we will see that on final. All right, turning left, flaps 5. Now you see my circle here, which is 2 miles from Fox November 22 Delta. So this is the exact good position to go gear down flaps 15. So let's do that now. Gear down. Flaps 15. We set the item right there and arm the speed brake. And as I told you, set missed approach altitude, set minimum descent altitude, in our case 1,300 feet. And we should be fully stabilized by Fox November 22 Delta, so we can go now flaps 30. The aircraft will go to VREF plus 5, and now we can start our approach. This is the step we want to fly, so I will check those steps for you, and you will have it on your screen. So we are going down. We are 5 miles now from position Mike November 22 Delta. We should be at 2690, so you see we are perfectly well. The next step is 4 miles, 2370. We will check that. And once your altitude is 300 feet or less, 300 feet or more below your missed approach altitude, which is 3,000 feet today, we can set missed approach altitude. So let's set missed approach altitude, 3,000 feet. Now we are going down 4 miles, 2370 is correct. Next step is 3 miles, 2060. Landing checklist, engine start switches continuous, speed brake is armed, landing gear is down, and flaps 30 green light, landing checklist completed. Perfect, 3 miles we were good, 2 miles, 1740 is the next step. We can see already our runway right there, and you can see that we are approaching our missed approach point right there, where we need then to fly a track of 303. Looking right now, the track is 302, so I need to fly 303 with the wind So wind is calm, so we can just select 303. That should be fine. Perfect. Let's see, 1 mile, which should be 1420. So 1 mile from there, 1420. So as you can see, not bad at all. Huh? And now that we are approaching Mike November 22 Delta, we'll revert to heading, vertical speed, and we are flying now the visual part. If you have a first officer with you, the nice thing to do now is to select the runway, visual, continue, but here we are going to fly it completely manually, so I don't want to give you more extra workload. So let's go ahead and fly this. So 1000 feet minimum altitude. I'll take the aircraft manual now. Auto throttle, autopilot off, 1000 feet. We maintain. We'll turn off the flight director. And now you can see, you will see the turn indication. So have a look on my navigation display. When I start turning, you see that white arc. You just need to lining up to your runway. So see the white arc. I try to line up to the runway. Now we are turning on final. So if I line up nicely my white arc, you can see that I will line up perfectly well with runway 22 right. Now we just need to find out our PAPI, and remember it's at 3.5 degrees, so don't go too low on the 3 degrees. We can see the PAPI now. Slight overshoot, correcting. 500 feet, stable, and now we are going for the landing. Sync rate, correcting.
30, 20, 10.
And touchdown. Reverses idle. Speed brake is up. Manual braking. $60 knots out of reverse. And we are vacating the runway to the right here. Alright guys, that was a demonstration how to set up the approach with FSiPanel if you want to fly the RNP 22 right in this or any other approach. This is the way to do it, very straightforward. And I will leave the files, like I said, in the description below if you want just to fly that snapshot. If you want to practice by doing it yourself, go ahead. As you saw, it's not very complicated to set up the approach in a few seconds and then fly it as much as you like. I hope you enjoyed that video, and if you like it, please subscribe to the channel. That will help me making more and more video for you. Thank you guys, and as always, stay safe and see you next time. Thank you, bye bye.